This week, Siskel&Ebert review, a young movie fan joining Arnold Schwarzenegger on screen in Last Action Hero. 3 woodland creatures go on a quest in Once Upon a Forest. And dinosaurs rule the earth again in Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park.
Hear this?
Help me! Get me out of here!
My God! This man's not dead!
Arnold Schwarzenegger pokes fun at himself and his larger-than-life stunt-filled movies in Last Action Hero, one of the new summer films we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel&Ebert. And we'll also take a look at Steven Spielberg's new dinosaur epic, Jurassic Park. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. Our first film is Last Action Hero, and this is a most ambitious project that works quite well and fits and starts and then drags on for what seemed to me like an extra 30 minutes wearing out its welcome. It's a movie within a movie within a movie about a young boy who is addicted to Arnold Schwarzenegger action pictures, and he ends up landing right inside one. Here's the scene where it all happens.
Yeah? Hello?
That's Austin O'Brien, quite good and relaxed as the kid. They become cop partners, and the banter here is a lot better than that Burt Reynolds monstrosity, Cop and a Half. The joke here, Schwarzenegger's character naturally doesn't realize he's in a movie. He thinks he's real.
You don't understand. You just solved the entire case. You just revolutionized the entire history of police training. I mean, all these years at the academy, studying human character, psyche of the terrorist, fingerprint analysis, all the courses that I've taken in surveillance, hostage negotiation, in criminal psychology. I mean, all I had to do is just drive around the neighborhood and point my finger at the house and say, the bad guys ain't there.
Together, they both chase movie mobsters here atop a hotel for a mob funeral. And this is where the film starts to get a little long, even though the stunt work is impressive.
Hold it! Don't shoot! You will drop Leo!
The ultimate villain in the piece is a mobster played by Charles Dance, who late in the picture takes over the kid's ability to jump between the movie world and the real world.
That was for blowing up my second cousin Frank's house. And this is for blowing up my ex-wife's house. But this is for my daughter's black eye! Usually when I do that, it leaves a hole.
As I watched Last Action Hero, I thought of a line written by film critic Vincent Canby at least a decade ago, that with the homogenization of the American film industry, with escalating budgets and safe subjects, we were heading toward a time when, in a manner of speaking, there would be just one movie made in a year. And Last Action Hero could be that film. It has the #1 movie star doing his thing and also commenting on it at the same time. Ultimately, he seems like he wants to get onto new territory, and so do we. I enjoyed chunks of Last Action Hero, but culturally, I think it may be more significant than it is entertaining.
I was also disappointed in it, Gene, and also, like you, I was impressed by some of the stunt work, but then again, you can kind of manufacture stunts. The tricky part is to put them in a movie that is worth watching for 2 hours and keeps your interest. And here, I think one of the problems was this duality, because the suspense scenes, when you're supposed to be really wrapped up in them, are all undercut by the knowledge that it's the movie within the movie, and so something is going to happen in such a way that what you're seeing isn't really what is going to be the payoff. I don't know if I made that clear, but
what you're saying is
that the movie constantly confuses you on that level of emotional involvement.
No, what it does is it sets up a pattern that you know is going to be kept on going,
right.
and so that when it's tense, you know it's going to be uncut. What I think they should have done is had it be more bookend introductions and let the action go straight through, or have the kid talk.
That might have helped,
and have a rooting interest where he's really trying to help the kid, not joking with each other so much.
The one thing that I liked somewhat was the way they kid the action movie cliches. For example, the talking killer, which we've talked about on this show.
That was smart.
Okay, next movie, and our next movie is Once Upon a Forest, an animated feature from the Hanna-Barbera studio that is right up to date and very politically correct. It uses its furry little forest animals to argue against pesticides and in favor of herbal medicine. As the movie begins, a wise old badger with the voice of Michael Crawford is teaching about the wonders of nature to a class of his students, young animals who are known in the forest as furlings.
Now, what is this, furlings?
I know. A willow, Cornelius.
Correct. And did you know its bark can be used to cure rheumatism?
Uncle Cornelius, what's rheumatism?
Then their idyllic sanctuary is invaded by men who release poison gas into the homes of the animals. One of their little friends goes into a coma, and the old badger sends the furlings on a desperate mission to gather up the rare herbs that can save her life.
But everything in our meadow's dead.
Then you must find another.
Another meadow?
There's no choice. You only have 2 days' time.
There are, of course, lots of adventures as the furlings wander into uncharted lands on their quest for the herbs. And to return home, they even build an airplane based on the old badger's homemade design.
Where are we? Right where we want to be.
Once Upon a Forest has its heart in the right place with its ecologically inspiring message about little animals trying to resist the chemicals and depredations of man, and in that way, its plot reminded me a little of last year's Fern Gully, The Last Rainforest. But for a movie intended primarily for children, it tells a very depressing story. The poison gas seeps into the forest and actually kills the family of one of the little furlings, in addition to sending the heroine into that coma. So once again, we have a movie illustrating the curious law that in a majority of children's animated films recently, the parents seem to die right at the beginning of the movie. The film does have some nice qualities, but it's not a match for the much more positive view of the forest in another truly inspired current animated film, My Neighbor Totoro, and I cannot recommend it.
I can't recommend it. I didn't like it as much as you did, Roger. First of all, is there a furry creature there that any kid is going to remember when they walk out of the theater?
I don't think so,
Not a single one. The furlings, they could switch genders, they could switch coats, pelts, you name it. They all look the same. They're all boring.
Yeah.
The background drawing's bad. The songs aren't memorable. I thought it was a washout completely.
Yeah, but just to go back to this other issue, why is it in so many children's films, including some live action films, where is the rule that the parents have to be killed off at the beginning of the film?
It was started by Disney in the classic films, and so when they imitate it now, they think that's the only way to trigger an emotion.
Yeah.
And at the end, I call it coin flip stuff and cheap stuff like this, where it doesn't have real mythic impact. It's little kids are sitting there, and at the end, his mom's dead, and then his mom comes back. It's just a coin flip, and it's worthless.
Coming up next, a review of Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park and a comment on its suitability for kids.
All major theme parks had delays. When they opened Disneyland in 1956, nothing worked.
Yeah, but John, if the Pirates of the Caribbean breaks down, the pirates don't eat the tourists.
Go away!
It's okay. Brachiosaur.
They're back after millions of years. Dinosaurs, of course, in Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park. And the bottom line is that his special effects dinosaurs are truly thrilling, but unfortunately his human characters are not. Sam Neill and Laura Dern play archaeologists lured to a billionaire Richard Attenborough's nature park where he has grown some very real dinosaurs. He's looking for the scientists' endorsement. They're looking at the dinosaurs, and so are we.
How fast are they? Well, we clocked the T-Rex to 32 miles an hour.
T-Rex? Mm-hmm. You said you've got a T-Rex?
Uh-huh.
Say again.
Also on the island, a skeptical mathematician played by Jeff Goldblum, the best human character in this movie. He has some of the same adult edge as Spielberg's adult characters in Jaws.
You stood on the shoulders of geniuses to accomplish something as fast as you could, and before you even knew what you had, you patented it and packaged it and slapped it on a plastic lunchbox, and now you're selling it. You want to sell it. Well,
I don't think you're giving us our due credit. Our scientists have done things which nobody's ever done before.
yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
As you might expect, in the movies, when man plays God, he loses, and the dinosaurs are soon running free.
Look at the wheeling, uniform direction changes, just like a flock of birds evading a predator.
They're flocking this way.
There are children under attack, too, in the park, the grandchildren of the park's owner, Richard Attenborough. Despite their presence, however, in my opinion, Jurassic Park is too intense for children under the age of, say, 10.
Turn the light off, turn the light off.
Turn the light off!
Jurassic Park has a number of peak thrills at the level of the attacks in Jaws, and it has moments of real wonder. But when the animals are off screen, the film really lags. That wasn't true if you think about it with Jaws, which had 3 marvelous characters hunting the shark. Jurassic Park only has Goldblum. The rest of the crew stands around and smiles or schemes. Still, thumbs up from me. The action scenes are really enjoyable.
I give a thumbs up too, and also for the action scenes, and I feel that really this movie, though, is a missed opportunity, because what he doesn't have here, and what I really missed from a movie by Spielberg like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, is the sense of awe, the sense of majesty. These creatures are back, and it's amazing, and right away, after an opening shot that has a little of that,
yes, it does,
the movie disintegrates basically into a monster picture, where the dinosaurs are chasing everybody, and the people are running away, and there's lots of action and lots of screaming, but there's not really any opportunity to really give these creatures their due. It's almost like the movie doesn't have any respect for the intelligence of the audience, that they might really be interested in dinosaurs instead of just in the action scenes.
We could have used more scenes, you're right, of awe, and that's, well, I think you're just right.
And I think you're right about whether or not it's too intense for kids. Now, I've talked to some parents who have really prepped their children. They've said, look, the kids in the movie don't get hurt, and the dinosaurs are just special effects, or their animation, or their models. And to a degree, I think you can prepare children for a movie like this, but at the same time, I think there are scenes in this movie that are very intense. Now, it's being aimed at kids. I mean, it's being promoted through dino meals at McDonald's, and a lot of kids are going to want to see this movie, and I think for the little ones, it's going to be too strong.
I've heard of parents taking their kids out of the theaters over this opening week, little tiny kids under the age of 10. Coming up next, 2 gamblers are forced to pay off their debt in a very bizarre fashion. Mandy Patinkin and James Spader star in The Music of Chance.
I remember asking for shovels. You asked for shovels, Jim?
Why not ask for them, son? Sure enough, got yourself a couple.
You okay? I'm going to New York. Is that all right for you? Seatbelt's on your right.
2 men meet by chance on a highway at the beginning of The Music of Chance, and chance will lead them into an existence stranger than fiction. The movie stars James Spader as a professional card player who tells the driver of that car, played by Mandy Patinkin, about 2 rich men who played poker with him a month earlier. Spader won a lot of money from them, and he's eager for a rematch, but now he's been beaten up and his money's been stolen. Patinkin has a $10,000 nest egg, and he decides to back Spader in a return match with the same 2 guys. They're named Mr. Flower and Mr. Stone. They're played by Charles Durning and Joel Grey, and they live isolated on a vast estate. They agree to another game.
So what's it to be then, Jack? 7-card stud?
Fine, 7-card stud from start to finish.
But this time their poker has improved considerably, and Spader and Patinkin lose all of Patinkin's money, plus another $10,000 on credit.
A full house. What can you do to answer that, Jack?
Not a thing.
To work off the debt, the men are put to work building a wall of 10,000 stones, supervised by M. Emmett Walsh as a quirky, menacing combination of handyman and prison guard.
From now on, you boys be hauling the stones over the trench with this here wagon.
You're not serious, are you?
I'm serious. From now on, you'll be using the wagon in the morning. In the afternoon, you'll be cementing the stones in place.
The music of chance turns into a strange allegory where perhaps, after all, nothing has happened by chance. Directed by Philip Haas and based on the novel by Paul Auster, the movie reminded me of a 1960s film, a movie from back when movies were allowed to have ideas and even dare to mystify the audience. Patinkin and Spader are very good in the film and completely realistic performances that keep the story grounded and keep the fantasy elements from taking over. They seem trapped, but by what? Their own greed? The cruelty of Mr. Flower and Mr. Stone? Or does life sometimes just play dirty tricks? This is the kind of movie you can talk about afterwards.
I think it's the last, if I had to... I like debating it like this. I think it's the last thing you said. I think life just happens to play dirty tricks.
Yeah.
And I like the edge of the film. I like the fact that I could not predict it. You may have spoiled some of the surprises with a detailed analysis of the plot there, but I was continually being surprised. I could not figure out where this picture was going. It brings in all sorts of strange elements, the building of the stones, the little world that they have upstairs. These are really refreshing things that take the movie out of that tunnel plot line that we get so often in American
Durning
films.
and Gray are good, too, because they're so
good.
ambiguous. At the beginning, they seem kind of like genial poker-playing hosts, and then later they turn evil. And, you know, it's very rare these days to get a movie that is about the nature
of the world.
Of the world.
Yes.
Usually you get a movie that's about a story in which if the good guy can kill the bad guy, the story will be over. But not a movie that makes you think about things.
Or a specific disease.
Yeah, or something.
Micro problems, not macro issues.
You got it. Okay.
Coming up next, a love triangle between a violinist and the men who take care of her violin. Coeur and Hiver, French for a heart in winter. And this is an engrossing French love story in all the ways that French stories are traditionally engrossing. It's adult and smart and restrained, and the passions seem real. Emmanuel Bayard plays a young concert violinist who will break up the personal and professional relationship between two men, a violin shop owner, André Dussolier, and his chief repairman, Daniel Auteuil.
Je l'ai suivi dans ses concerts. Un soir, j'ai été la voir après. Elle n'était pas contente d'elle. Alors je lui ai parlé d'un passage particulièrement aride, qu'elle avait traité avec beaucoup d'émotion.
Even though his boss is having an affair with the violinist, the repairman is drawn to her. Does he genuinely like her, or is he striking out at his boss? Regardless, she is drawn to him.
J'ai envie de vous. J'ai pas l'habitude de me jeter à la tête des gens comme ça. Il fallait que je vous le dise. Voilà.
Coeur and Hiver is full of frank talk like that, and also full of quiet moments in which we study the actors as if we were eavesdropping on real lives. The classical music backdrop of the film fits the story perfectly. I enjoyed this film a lot.
I enjoyed it a lot, too. You know, the strange thing about love stories in the movies is they almost always involve two people who either want to get together and can't, or don't want to get together but do, or want to get together and do. This is a movie about a man who cannot love, and who doesn't really understand that he can't love until he's presented with the opportunity to do so. Because at first, of course, he thinks that he wants this woman, and then he finds out that there's just some chord that's missing on his set of piano keys.
In addition to that, though, I think that the movie has that whole other story of what is their relationship between the two men, and is he striking out? And but what I like about the script is it raises that issue. Whenever we see pictures, we're always thinking, why don't they say what anyone who would be in this story would be thinking? And of course, she's smart, and then talk about it, and then raise the story to a next level. So they do talk about, as we saw, whether or not he's using this relationship to get at his boss.
And the way that she is not just the passive object of for example, when she walks into that cafe and she confronts him and she says, "What are you doing here?" And she finally winds up slapping him. It really, you can see people whose minds are involved in this instead of just some kind of a clockwork love story that's playing.
They're writing smart. When we come back, our video pick of the week, the granddaddy of all dinosaur movies.
Siskel&Ebert's Video Pick of the Week, brought to you by Orville Redenbacher, the first and last name in popcorn.
Now it's time for our home video pick of the week, and my choice this week is inspired by Jurassic Park. It's called The Lost World, and is one of the great pioneering special effects films made in 1925 and based on the novel by Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes. It's a book about an expedition to a mysterious jungle plateau in South America where prehistoric dinosaurs still walk the earth. Lost World is available on both Laserdisc and videotape, and I recommend you have a look at it. Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed this week. 2 thumbs down for Last Action Hero, an ambitious thriller that's too convoluted for its own good. 2 more thumbs down for Once Upon a Forest, the movie about animals fighting against the ecological sins of man. We were both impressed by the special effects in Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park. Those dinosaurs really do look real, but we agreed that the story was thin, the characters superficial, and that the movie should have been more awe-inspiring. Still 2 thumbs up, because whatever else it might be missing, the movie is entertaining. And 2 more thumbs up for The Music of Chance, where a poker game turns into a nightmare and inspires thoughts about the nature of life. And 2 more thumbs up for En Cours en Hiver, the haunting personality study of a man who is simply unable to love.
That's it for this week. Next week we'll be back with reviews of more big summer movies, including Dennis the Menace, the new film by John Hughes, starring Walter Matthau and Christopher Lloyd. Also, Sleepless in Seattle, a transcontinental love story with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. And The Firm, starring Tom Cruise as a lawyer who uncovers some unsavory secrets about the folks who employ him. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
Sundance, made with pure fruit juice and sparkling water. No sugar added. With Sundance, great taste comes in colors, and so does great family refreshment. St. Ives Swiss Formula Apricot Scrub. St. Ives Swiss Formula polishes your complexion beautifully naturally. St. Ives Swiss Formula Apricot Scrub. For hair color that thinks it's a conditioner, ask your professional stylist for Shades EQ Color Gloss from Redken. The power behind beautiful hair. New Kraft-Free Honey Dijon non-fat dressing. You won't believe how delicious fat-free can be. If it tastes too good to be fat-free, it's Kraft-Free.
Something big is coming to McDonald's.
Pour it down.
Something of such enormous proportions.
Stand back.
It could only be called the Jurassic Park Extra Value Meal.
Okay. Let's eat.
An enormously juicy triple cheeseburger, dino-sized fries, and large drink in one of 6 free Jurassic Park collector cups. The Jurassic Park Extra Value Meal. A dino-sized value for a dino-sized appetite.
Hey, where's mine?
What you want is what you get at McDonald's today.
All right.